Hi, my name is Beth from my Tutoring Bee, and in this video we're going over how to write equations in standard form from slope-intercept form. I've got a few examples for us, so let's go ahead and get started. Really quickly, let's take a peek at what slope-intercept and standard forms look like. With slope-intercept, we call it that because by just looking at the equation, we can identify both the slope and the y-intercept of that line that equation is representing. In standard form, it's a little bit different. We just have a few rules to remember about the coefficients a, b, and the constant c. So in standard form, we would have ax plus by equals c. The x and the y are going to stay as is. The a, the b, and the c are the numbers that will actually be represented there. Some rules about a is that it always has to be positive and it's always an integer, as well as b and c. B and c always have to be integers, but they don't have to be positive. So that means no fractions, no decimals in standard form at all. Let's take a look at these examples. We've got a few in slope-intercept form, and we want to turn them into standard form. So let's take a look at this first one, y equals 3x minus 4. Well, the first thing that I see is that I already have the y term over on the left-hand side of the equation, but I don't have the x term. So let's go ahead and remove 3x from this side of the equation, and we're going to get that x term over on the left-hand side by subtracting 3x from both sides. So now we have negative 3x plus y equals negative 4. All right, so now let's take a look at those rules. This looks like it's getting to that point where it's something x plus or minus something y equals a constant number. So it looks like we have that. We just need to get rid of this negative because we can't have that a term being negative. So the way we do that is we multiply through by negative 1 on this entire equation. So that's going to give us positive 3x minus y equals positive 4. Now this being a negative here, that's okay. As long as our leading term is positive, then that's what we want. And we do have integers for all of these other coefficients and our constant at the end there. So that is our converted equation from slope-intercept form into standard form. Let's take a look at another one. Here we have y equals 1/2 x minus 7. Again, I want that x term over on the left-hand side of the equal sign, so I'm going to subtract 1/2 x, subtract 1/2 x from both sides of the equation. So that means we get negative 1/2 x plus y equals negative 7. All right, so we definitely have some work to do with this leading coefficient. It's both negative and a fraction. We want neither of those things. So we're going to do what's called clearing fractions. So what we can do is we can multiply each of our terms by 2 to get rid of the fraction, and we can multiply everything by negative 1 like we did in this first problem to get rid of that negative. So I'm actually going to do both of those things at the same time and multiply everything by negative 2. So that negative 2 is going to cancel out with my negative 1/2 here in front of my x term. So that's going to leave me with just x. And then negative 2 times positive y is going to give me negative 2y. And then negative 2 times negative 7 is going to give me a positive 14. So now we have our equation in standard form. All right, let's go on to our next problem, y equals negative x plus 1/2. So in this case, our fraction is over here in where the y-intercept represented as a y-intercept. So we'll take care of that fraction in a little bit. The first step, as usual, is I'm going to add x to both sides of the equation because I want that x over on the left-hand side of my equal sign. So we've got x plus y equals 1/2. Now this part looks okay, the x and the y. However, we do want that c term to be an integer. So we're going to multiply everything by 2. This is a somewhat common mistake that some of my students make when I'm working with them, is that they'll just want to multiply this by 2 and they'll write x plus y equals 1 because those 2's will cancel out. However, when we're multiplying through, we have to multiply times everything, each term in the equation. So everything gets multiplied by 2. You could think of it as distributive property almost. And so once we apply that multiplication of 2, we get 2x plus 2y equals 1. So that is our standard form for that equation. And we have one more, y equals negative 4/5 x plus 2. So let's go ahead and add 4/5 x to both sides to get that x term over on the left. So now we wind up with 4/5 x plus y equals 2. Again, we can't have that fraction. We don't have a negative to worry about though. So we're just going to multiply everything by 5. And that 5 is going to cancel out with the 5 in the denominator of the x, leaving us with just 4. So if we want to write that separately, we can think of it as 5 over 1 times 4 over 5. Oops, okay. So our 5s would cancel out. That would give us 4 over 1, which just equals 4. So hopefully that helps see where I got that 4x from. The 5 times y gives us plus 5y. And then the 5 times 2 gives us 10. So there we have our standard form from Slope-Intercept Form. I hope that this video is helpful for you. Thanks so much for watching. Please take a look at the description. I have a ton of links there, including a link to my entire pre-algebra series where I go over a ton of concepts that you would see in a typical pre-algebra class. I also offer one-on-one tutoring online, so if you're interested in that, then feel free to send me a message. I would love to talk to you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That does help me to continue making these videos. And I'll see you next time.